What is going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream. I meant to do this one yesterday, but I just got busy and I didn't have the time. But here we are. First and foremost, I do want to wish you guys a happy new year. Happy 2026. Hopefully you enjoy 2025. And I wish you the best of the best in 2026, and especially when it comes to this cryptocurrency market. So yeah, happy New Year, happy 2026. But we are here to talk about the cryptocurrency market. I am here to give you an update on the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, the altcoin market, and whatever else that you guys are interested in. Looking at the chart of Bitcoin, I do think we are ready for a big move that should take the price up in the higher $90,000 range. The altcoin market continues to show signs of, not signs actually, the altcoin market will continue to see bullish divergency. Another reason I'm pretty much very bullish on altcoins in the short term. And I am expecting, and actually this is already happening, I am expecting the price of altcoins to go up. If you look at the performance of altcoins in the last, couple hours, most of them are up. Even in the last 2 to 3 days, some of these altcoins have gone up about 10%, 20%, some even 30%. So I do think that we are going to see a continuation of some positive price action in the short term. But I do want to give you a heads up. Do not be fooled. All right. Do not get caught up in the current bullish sentiment. This is not long term. This is in the short term. I don't know how long exactly this is going to last. It could potentially be a couple weeks, maybe is a month, maybe 2 months, but that is pretty much it. I don't think this is going to be a sustainable uptrend where most of these altcoins, continues to go up for multiple months and potentially years. Like, I don't think this is the case. The setup is just not there. And in terms of the setup, we are talking about the monthly time frame. The setup that we have right now is a market that is more likely to continue down over the next several months. But just because price will continue down over the next several months, it doesn't mean that there won't be times when the market is bullish. And this is exactly what we are experiencing in the short term and what we are more likely to continue to experience. So that should be the theme, that should be the topic of today's discussion. If this is your first time right here, if you appreciate the content, look, even if you don't appreciate the content, if you are watching, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. And I'm not gonna waste your time. We're gonna jump straight to the point and talk about this market. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, $89,000. Earlier today we actually broke $90,000, and I'm not gonna say that we got rejected because we could go back to 90,000 anytime in the next couple hours or in the next couple minutes. But we did hit $90,000. We are currently $89,200. But I want to focus on the structure. And this is what I talked about, the last time I talked about Bitcoin. I want to focus on the current structure right here. So if you go from this low right here and you touch every single one of these lows, you have a nice support right here. And then if you take another trend line and you go from the top right here, all right, or we can even go from right here, but if you go from the top right here and you connect it to every single one of these tops, it also gives you a nice trend line that looks like this. So simply put, guys, this is your support right here, and this is your resistance. And as we can clearly see, we are right now at the bottom of the support. Like, we are literally right closer to the support line. So, in terms of where the price of Bitcoin is more likely heading in the short term, chances are, we're going up to retest this yellow line. And if we do go up to retest this yellow line, you're looking at a Bitcoin that could potentially trade somewhere around $96,000, somewhere around, 98,000, and potentially, right? Potentially $100,000. Now, this is not 100% that this is not 100% that this is exactly what is going to happen. We could potentially go lower. Right? We could absolutely go lower, guys. But in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing in the chart, the only reason for BTC to go lower, instead of going up to $96,000, would be if the price of Bitcoin was to go below $84,000. So let's say we get a pullback and then we get a daily close below $84,000. That would invalidate my short-term bullish outlook of an a $96,000, a $98,000 Bitcoin, because that would mean that you're looking at a Bitcoin that is more likely, once you lose $84,000, you're looking at a Bitcoin that is more likely coming back to retest $80,000, and of course, potentially, guys, we're looking at somewhere around here, somewhere around $74,000. Why $74,000? Well, all you gotta do is go to the left. This range right here, guys, from 74,000 up to $76,000. This is an area of interest if the price of Bitcoin was to lose $84,000. So this is my reason to be bullish on this market in the short term. Another reason, it is simply that we have finally broken out of this downtrend right here, guys. So if you go from the all-time highs of $126,000, all right, and you connect it to every single one of these rejections or every single one of these tops right here, it gives us a really nice trend line, okay? We, all right, have tried to break out and then we got rejected, right? The last couple of times we got rejected. Right here we got rejected. You can say this is also a rejection, even though we didn't really make a contact, but this was also a rejection. Now, finally, Bitcoin has broken out. So I do think with this breakout right here, the probabilities of going up to retest, all right, these highs right here, guys, right, $94,000. And of course, in terms of a trend line, you're not just looking at $94,000. You're looking at you're looking at the line right here, this trend line. You're looking at $96,000. So this is another reason why I'm very optimistic and very bullish in the short term, and really expecting the price of BTC to hit those targets. So that was reason number 2. Reason number 3, in a bear market, which I honestly believe is exactly where we are right now. Like, we are in a bear market. If you ask me, we are in a bear market. In a bear market, the price will come back to retest key moving. Price will come back to retest the 50 and the 21 weekly moving average during a downtrend. So, price of Bitcoin has been trading in the low $80,000 range. If you look at the 21 weekly moving average, it is currently right now around $99,000. Chat, the last time I gave you an update, I believe the 21 weekly moving average was around $103,000, $100,000. And I told you guys that if the price of Bitcoin comes back to retest the 21 weekly moving average, by the time we get to it, it won't be at $100,000. It's more likely going to be below $100,000 because this is a moving average. It is literally following the price. It is giving you the average of the last 21 weekly trading period. Okay, so my opinion is that we come back and retest a 21 weekly moving average, and if it's not a 21 weekly moving average, I see price of Bitcoin coming back to retest the 50 weekly moving average. The 50 is currently around $97,000. So when you think about 99,000, when you think about $97,000, it is basically what this trend line is giving us in terms of targets. You're looking at a Bitcoin that is more likely coming up to retest somewhere around 96 to $100,000. So that is, what did I say? Reason number three or reason number four? So I'll give you guys plenty reasons why I think Bitcoin is more likely going up to those targets. This is not, this is not my opinion that is based on nothing. This is me looking at the market. This is me looking at the chart of Bitcoin and, interpreting basically what I am seeing. When I look at the chart, my eyes tells me we are at the support. And because we are at support, until the support is broken, I am betting on price bouncing, because that's exactly what a support is meant to do, guys. It is meant to act as a support. A support is there to support the price. So my outlook on it is that support is going to hold. We are going to see a bounce. We are going to push all the way up into those $96,000, $97,000 range. And once we get there, we are going to meet a resistance. All right. We are going to be met with a resistance. And resistance is going to do exactly what it's meant to do. And that is resist. And once we get rejected, all right, once we are resisted and price starts coming back down, we will talk about my outlook on BTC. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to go step by step. And right now, step one is, this is where we are, and this is where we think the price of Bitcoin is going. Once we get to step two, where price is rejected, then we'll talk about what comes next. But right now, I am extremely, extremely positive on the price of Bitcoin. This is short term. I want to make sure that I'm very clear. I'm not calling for $120,000. I'm not calling for a new all-time highs. No, I want to go step by step. I want to look at the price of Bitcoin, and I want to talk about what I am seeing in the short term. The bigger picture, I already talked about it. All you got to do is, all you got to do is just, go through my most recent updates, my most recent post, all right? All you got to do is just go through any one of these videos right here. You know exactly what we talked about in terms of, hey, this is the bigger picture. And this is, the short-term picture. So that would be my update on Bitcoin. I don't really think there's much to talk about. And in terms of, how long are we looking at where Bitcoin trades in this $96,000, $98,000 range? Chat, I think you're looking at about, I'm going to say, just to give myself some time, I'm going to say about 10 or 20 days, right? This is exactly what we said yesterday. Within the next 10 to 20 days, I was basically looking at 10, 15 days. I think the price of Bitcoin will be somewhere around here, guys. Now, how did I come up with that, with those many days? Well, I just looked at, all right, how long it took us to go from 80,000 until we got to $94,000. Yo, chat, it took us about 15, 20 days. So if you go from right here, all right, until we hit this top right here, this is about 12 days. But if you extend it until, the next time we came back to it, this is about 18 days, guys. I do think it might take about, the same time. So if you go from like right here, from the breakout, 18 days, you're looking at sometimes until, January 19. So a couple of weeks from now. It could happen sooner, all right, faster. Who knows how long this is going to take. But what I would tell you is, look, this looks really good. Chat, this looks really, honestly, Bitcoin is ready. I can tell you that right now. BTC looks ready to me. If you look at the RSI, guys, RSI on the daily has already broken above the 50 line, which is very positive. Every time the RSI is above the 50 line, that is a bullish territory. That means whatever asset that you're looking at is more likely, price will more likely to go up. Now, I'm looking at the MACD right here. Pretty soon, the MACD will break above the zero line. Another indicator that is soon going to turn positive. Remember, MACD lags big time, right? By the time the price of Bitcoin gets around, I don't know, $95,000, the MACD may give us excuse me, the MACD may give us the breakout above the zero line. That is going to be very positive. But once again, a big lagger. So I don't think you want to rely on the MACD. But I was, relying on the MACD in terms of bullish divergencies. All right. When I was looking at the MACD, while the price of Bitcoin was going down, but the MACD was consistently going up. And I was looking at RSI consistently going up, giving us higher lows. I was very positive on the price of Bitcoin. And when you look at my updates from the last couple of days, I said, hey, listen, despite what's going on in the short term, Bitcoin may look weak, but something is happening in the chart. Right? Something is happening in the chart. A couple of times it looks really bad, and I say, hey, this thing does not really look good. But the more data we got, Bitcoin started looking good, and here we are, guys. And when you look at what's going on right here in terms of patterns, to me, this is a bear flag right here. So if I get rid of this, all right, if I get rid of that and we look at this right here, if we just focus on like this right here, guys, if we just focus on this entire picture, this is a bear flag, okay? If you look at what a bear flag pattern looks like, it looks exactly like this, guys, all right? You get a big drop, and then you get a consolidation, all right? Higher highs, higher lows, but this is not bullish right here. This is going to lead us to a major, major, major breakdown. Not right now, though. The first thing we got to do is we got to retest this resistance right here. Maybe the next time we come back down is when we break down and then we'll drop all the way down in the $70,000 range. But we're not here yet. All right, there's no reason to talk about this. So anyways, man, looking at Bitcoin, it looks very positive. I don't think there's anything not to like, especially when you look at current price action. I'm sure if you go down to the lower time, if you go to the 15 minutes, look, Bitcoin has already broken above the 200 moving average, which is, again, very positive right here. Short term, long as we can stay above the 200 moving average, you're looking at a Bitcoin that is more likely to continue up. So that will be my update on BTC. I do want to take some time and talk about altcoins, because if you watch my recent updates, we talked about bullish divergence. We talked about altcoins. Yes, price is going down. Yes, super frustrating in the short term, but the structure. Look at the structure, and we say the structure was very positive. So I want to give you guys an update on the altcoin market. But once again, if you are new right here, if you are new to the channel, if you have not, all right, if you have not subscribed, and even if you're not new, if you have not subscribed, this is the perfect time, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. That is the goal right now. If you're watching, make sure you hit that like button. Very important. I wouldn't be asking if it wasn't that important. And if you guys, if you have some altcoins and you would like me to give you my analysis on them, put them in the chat. All right, put them in the chat. Anyways, let's keep this going. Right here. Just give me a second. I want to keep this going right here. So once again, though, for some of you guys who are just joining us right now, I do want to wish you a happy new year. Happy 2026. I hope it is going to be a big one. I hope it is going to be a good one. The most important thing is, wish you nothing but great health. Because if you're not healthy, if you're not doing pretty well, I mean, what can you do, right? You can't do anything. You can't be in the market. You pretty much can't do anything. Health, number one, okay? So I wish you guys great health in 2026. And, the rest will just I don't want to say it will take care of itself. You got to do the work. But if I was to wish you one thing, I am wishing you great health in 2026. So let's get back to this market. Let's get back to this market right here. And if you guys look, if you are confused, if you don't know what's going on, and if I'm not making any sense, and if I'm confusing you, I want to make sure this is, not complicated. I want to simplify what we are talking about. I want to make sure nobody's looking at this and not understanding what is actually going on, and or at least not understanding my interpretation of this market right here. Can I chart open door? Yeah, that is a stock. Absolutely. I think open had a major move, or should I say performance. I mean, not right now, but last couple months, I believe, and it's currently dealing with a pullback. So the question is, what is going on? Look, this is not a bad pullback. I can tell you that right now. I mean, this is a stock that went up. I mean, it went from like 40 something cent all the way up to around $11. I mean, this is a 20x, right? Is it a 20x? Almost a 20x. So this is not a bad pullback. You go up that much, you got a pullback, and at some point will reestablish another bullish structure and price will go up. So yeah, let me kind of give you my opinion on it. If you go to the monthly, what I would say is this: for the very first time, the monthly trend is turning bullish. The reason is because we broke above this $5.28 resistance. This was a major breakout right here. So to me, when I look at open, I think this is a pullback of this breakout right here. Remember, nothing goes up in a straight line. All right, there's always going to be pullbacks. So I look at this pullback from $11 down to $6 as a pullback of this breakout. In terms of the structure, open is bullish, or is turning bullish on the monthly. As long as the price, look, this is gonna sound crazy, but as long as the price stays above this 51 cents, there's really nothing to worry about. Now, I'm not saying the price is going to go all the way back into the 50 cents range, but structurally speaking, as long as price is above 51 cent, open is more likely turning bullish on this monthly. And the reason I'm saying more likely, the reason I'm saying is most likely turning bullish, I'm not saying it's already bullish, is because this could potentially be a fake out. This entire breakout could potentially be a fake out in terms of if price was to come back, revisit 51 cent and lose 51 cent. Now, this is a monthly time frame that we are talking about. So this is not something that is more likely. Look, unless some crazy thing, okay? Unless they miss up big time. Like, I don't see price all of the sudden going back to around 50 cents in in a couple of days or a couple of weeks. Like, this would take some time. Anyways, so what you want to see right here is this. You want to see a higher low on this monthly. Now, whether the higher low comes in right now or whether we come all the way back down to around $1.70. Like, I don't know how this is all going to play out. But what I would say is this. What you want to see is a higher low. You want to see this pullback come to an end on the monthly, and you want to see a bounce like this. Once you get something like this, that is extremely bullish. All right, this is going to be bullish. Remember, when the monthly is bullish, price will go up for months and potentially years. If I go to the weekly though, but the good thing is that you don't have to wait for the monthly to give you a bottom. You can go to the weekly. So if I go to the weekly right here, price is currently retesting the 200 weekly moving average. That's a very positive sign, but it doesn't mean that the lows are in. For me, what I would do is this. I'm putting a trend line right here. And what I would do is this. If the price can break above this yellow, can break this trend line right here, I think that would mean the bottom of this pullback is in. And this is the beginning of another leg that pushes the price. In terms of where the real resistance are, you're looking at $25. that would be the beginning of a move towards $25. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear. I'm not saying that you should get in right now because price is going to 25, but what I'm saying is that if we can break above this trend line right here, that's basically acting as a resistance, that could potentially be the beginning of a move that takes price all the way up into the $20 range. Another way that I like to look at it is whenever the price breaks above the 21 weekly moving average, I want to see a pullback to the 21 weekly. So I would say this was the breakout. This was a retest of the 21 weekly. Price got extremely extended, and this is another pullback to the 21 weekly. Maybe we're not just going to retest the 21 weekly. Maybe we are about to see a retest of the 50 weekly moving average. That could be around, $4.60. If I'm looking at where the 50 currently is. Now, if this takes a couple weeks, maybe by the time we retest the 50, we could be around, $5 or even $6. Even right here. Like we could potentially just range for a couple of weeks, allow some of these EMAs to catch up, and then, you finally get the breakout. Another way to look at it is if you are a, excuse me, if you are a big fan of the Bollinger Band. So if I'm looking at the Bollinger Band right here, personally, I would need to see a breakout above this. You see this blue line right here. I think this is my 20 weekly or 21 weekly. I'm not sure if I already changed the settings. Let me see. I think this is the default settings. So this is the 20 weekly moving average. So I would like to see price once again break above this yellow line. So if we can get above the 20 weekly, that will indicate that we are more likely to see a move like this. Look at this. This is a breakout right here above the 20 weekly. That was the bullish confirmation, not down here, right here. And that was a time to get in. And right after that, you look at performance-wise, open went up about 400, basically 500%. So if we can get a breakout above this yellow line or above this 20 weekly moving average based on the Bollinger Band, then that could be the beginning of a move that takes price up in the $20 range. And you're looking at a 200+% move. So hopefully that is helpful. Just spend some time talking about this one right here. Probably more than I should have, but I don't mind at all. That is why I'm here. So yeah, that is open. That is open. If you go down to, maybe the daily. So I'm looking at here. Okay, like this looks really good. Is this the bottom? Probably not. I think waiting for this breakout, probably the right thing to do. But the fact that price is still above the 200 daily moving average is, very positive. We just got to see if the bottom is coming in right now or if this is going to take, maybe some time, right? Like, how is this going to play out? I think that is just what we got to wait for. All right, let's talk about altcoins. So, altcoins, once again, if you watch my most recent altcoin updates, I'm pretty much very bullish, have been very bullish. I am very bearish long-term wise, but in the short term, I'm very positive on altcoins. What I'll say to you guys is that, if you get a 20% move, take profits. If you have an altcoin trade and they go up 20%, think about taking profits because you won't regret. You would not regret taking profits from the altcoin market. So, Proppy right now, at least on my watch list, the biggest pumper, currently up about 22%. So, Proppy right now, the biggest gainer, at least on my watch list, it is currently up about 22%. But you also have other altcoins such as Flocky up 10%. You have Ondo Finance up 7%. And I'm sure if we go to Coinbase, there's a bunch of other altcoins that are performing much, much better than, the ones I have on my watch list. So it is a great time. I mean, I don't know if it's a great time. It's definitely a great time, short term, maybe to trade altcoins. And I am expecting, most of these altcoins to continue to do well in the short term. Like I'm not expecting anything else. If you go to Coinbase and you look at the top gainers, we have CTX. All right, CTX is the top performer, up 35, and then you have Pepe, second top performer, up 32%. Yo, it's all the meme coins actually. And then you have Popcat that is up 27%. And then you have Useless up 22%. So these are some of the top, these are the top gainers according to Coinbase in the last 24 hours. The reason the altcoin market is going up is very simple. Despite recent weakness, despite recent performance, terrible performance, if you look at the structure of the altcoin market, they have been looking pretty good. AVAX is an altcoin that we talked about. Now, this is not the best performer in the market right now, but if you look at the setup of AVAX over these last couple of days, I said even though price was going down, we have bullish divergency on the daily, and that was a very positive sign, right? And because of that, my outlook on altcoins was very positive, and I thought we were going to see exactly what we are seeing right now. And I think we are going to see a continuation of this because this is not the end of it. This is only the beginning of a really positive time for altcoins. If you look at the performance of many of these altcoins over the last couple months, it has been a straight line, all right? These altcoins, most of them are currently down about 80% from the most recent weekly high. So in terms of AVAX, the most recent weekly high is $36. You go from 36 all the way down to the absolute lows. AVAX in a straight line is down about 70%. All right, and it's not just AVAX; it's most of these altcoins. This is not how the market is meant to perform long term. Like this is not sustainable. All right, at some point, even if the market is bearish, you are going to run into a situation where buyers are going to step in. And this is exactly what I tried to anticipate these last couple of days. At some point, buyers are going to step in and they are going to push price a little bit higher. It doesn't mean when buyers step in, it's going to lead us to a long-term sustainable uptrend. No, what it means is maybe we have some seller exhaustion because, chat, think about this, right? If you are shorting the market, once the asset that you want to short is already down about 50 and 60 and 70%, you're not looking for entries. That the risk is just not worth it. What you do is you stay on the sideline, you wait for a bounce, and then you wait for a rejection, and then you get back into the market, and then you short the market, and then you have your stop losses just right above the most recent high, and then you have your your profit targets. That is exactly what is going on right now, guys, because those that are shorting altcoins, in this case, if I was looking to short AVAX, I'm not looking to jump in right here, even though my outlook on AVAX is bearish, even though I'm expecting lower targets. This is not a time for me to jump in. What I want to see is I want to see a counter trend. I want to see a counter trend move. So what that means is that I need to see a move like this. I need to see a rejection. I need to see a little drop, and then I'm willing to jump in right here with a stop loss just right above this most recent high. And then my profits maybe is back here, or maybe I'm looking to take profits maybe somewhere around $8 or maybe somewhere around $5. So this is exactly what's going on right now, guys. So AVAX is a perfect example. When you go to the daily, you can clearly see, even though price was going down, price has been going down, we have bullish divergences. All right, RSI was trending up, giving us higher highs and higher lows. MACD was doing exactly the same thing. And right now, RSI has broken above the 50 line on the daily. The MACD is about to break above the zero line. So what does that mean? Well, what it means is that is a bullish environment. When the MACD is above the zero line, that is a bullish environment. Price tends to go up. When the RSI is above the 50 line, that is a bullish environment. Price tends to go up. I give you guys an example. If we go back here and you look at when the MACD broke above this zero line right here, on the 6th of September 2025, and the RSI was above the 50 line, that was a bullish environment. And we saw price of AVAX go from $24 all the way up to $35. That was a bullish environment. And you go back to, back right here, guys, October 2023, all right? MACD breaks above the zero line, bullish environment. RSI breaks above the 50 line, bullish environment. And price of AVAX, goes from like $14 all the way up to around, before the pullback, $50. And then we had a pullback. And then, RSI just for a brief moment and the MACD for a brief moment in a bearish environment, got back in a bullish environment around February 2024. Price was around, $35. And we saw AVAX go from $35 up to $60. So this is very positive right here, guys. Long as the RSI can stay above the 50 line, long as the MACD can break above the zero line, that is a bullish environment. And we might see price, or we are more likely to see price go up and retest some of the targets that we talked about, $18, $20 potentially, up in the low $20 range. Those are all possible targets. So I am liking the altcoin market right now. Is this a good time to jump in? Look, I think so. All right, I think, if I'm looking at AVAX right now, $13, I don't think this is a bad time to get in. Like, not at all, guys. Like, you haven't really missed anything. All we have is yesterday's massive daily candle right here. So I do think, we are going to see many more green daily candles, over the next couple weeks. And especially if the price of Bitcoin is going to those $96,000 targets. Aerodrome Finance also has done pretty well. Last time I was live streaming, I talked about Aerodrome Finance, and I say, hey, I actually think this is a good time to get in. I believe Aerodrome was losing, I think we were losing 40 cents, or we were somewhere around 42 cents. So if you go from right here and you push it all the way up, look, this is already a 20% move. All right, that was already a 20% move. So that was, a trade. I don't know if it was like a legit trade, but that was something. Look, right here, chat. Yeah, right here. And I say, hey, I actually like it. All right. I said I actually liked it. That was around 40 cents. And we did get the drop into like the 30s, whatever. Because, if you put a trend line right here. There we go. We did get the drop. We didn't touch exactly the yellow line. But this looks really good, Like, I'm not expecting this to go on for, God who knows how long. But this is really, really good, man. Look. Really good. Bullish divergence in terms of the MACD, not the RSI. And I believe we also talked about that. Bullish divergence in... Yeah, there you go, right there, guys. Look, I pointed out. I'm like, hey, look, bullish divergences, on the MACD, not the RSI. Very positive. So you go back to right here. That was this that I was pointing out, chat. So it is no surprise, price is up 20% right now. Now, I got to be honest, because if I'm not honest, then I'm doing you guys a disservice. This is extremely difficult to trade something like this. Extremely difficult, chat. Right? This is not easy right here, guys, because look, this is a 22% pump, but it's within these last 2 days. It's been yesterday and today. So extremely difficult. Now, if you got lucky and you jumped in, let's say you were playing with a lower time frame, like you could have jumped in on the 15 minutes or you could have jumped in on the 5 minutes. On the 5 minutes, maybe you waited for the price to break about the 200 moving average. That was around 40 cents after this low was put in. And then, you're looking like a genius right now. But guess what? The question is, did you actually get this trade right here? Because if you say yes, then I got to ask you a question. Did you also took this one right here? Did you also took this right here? And if you did, where was your stop loss? But this is how trading works. And this is why, during a time like this, personally, guys, I just like to stay on the sideline. I like not to participate much. I only have, I think, 1 or 2 trades right now. I have MicroStrategy. I'm anticipating a very positive move, over the next, couple weeks. I think MicroStrategy potentially goes into the low $200 range. And the rest, I'm just waiting. I am waiting. I'm not touching none of these altcoins. I'm just going to analyze them and talk about what I'm seeing. I am waiting because I do want to short a bunch of these stuff right here, guys. MicroStrategy, I do want to short it. I'm waiting for a nice big weekly bounce. And if we can bounce into the $200 range, that's exactly what I want to see. And I do want to jump into some puts and try to ride it all the way down to $100 and potentially below $100. I think 2026 is going to be a long, 22, at least for a good chunk of 2026, I think MicroStrategy is going to have a hard time. And I see price down in the low $100 range and potentially below $100. So if I can jump into a short trade where I'm jumping in around 220 or 230 and I ride it all the way down to $100, I think those are going to be some sweet profits. So, what am I missing? Chat, what am I missing? Should I continue on with altcoins and maybe just individually, talk about most of these alts? All right, look, my analysis, to be very honest with you guys, though, my analysis is going to be exactly as, this update that I just gave you on what was it, AVAX and Aerodrome Finance. But remember, if you are just joining us, I am wishing you a very, very happy new year. Wishing you a great 2026. What I'm wishing all of you is great health, because without, being healthy, without being in, in the best shape health-wise, I mean, there's really nothing else out there, to be very honest. Forget about working, forget about whatever activities that you are into. You got to be healthy, guys. If you're not healthy, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. All right, so I'm wishing you guys great health in 2026. As far as the market goes, let's go after it. Let's go after it. All coins look really good. I am expecting, all right, all right, these are my expectation. I am expecting a very positive altcoin market in these days and potentially weeks. If I'm looking at AVAX, I think AVAX is at a really good shot of retesting 145. If we can break above 145, if I go to the weekly, I can see AVAX, somewhere around, no, not AVAX, Solana. Oh my gosh. Solana 145. If we can get 145, you got some major resistance around $187. Now, I am just looking at the 21 weekly and the 50 weekly moving average. I don't think price goes above them. So if I'm looking at my 21 weekly, I think Solana $157. That's the 21. 50 weekly $164. So I'm just gonna say somewhere around here we get rejected by these EMAs right here. If we go higher, then I'm looking at 187. If we do go to 187, guys, I think we're just gonna wait to 187. I don't think we'll get a full body candle around 187. We might just boom 187 and then we close the day below 160, something like that. So, but look, if I had a position, once price gets anywhere closer to the 21 weekly, I think the right thing to do is, taking profits. That will be depending on your entry actually. So let's say you jumped in around, the low 120. Yeah, you look, man, you're looking at almost a 30% move. A 30% move, I think that's more than enough. Risk is just not worth it. To be very honest with you guys, risk is just not worth it right now. Like, I wouldn't do it. So I don't know why you should try to force anything. But yeah, Solana short term, expecting price to go up. It's funny actually, the miners are going crazy. Bitfarm currently up 11%. You have Riot up 10. CleanSpark, you have CleanSpark up 12%. All right, very positive. You have Iron up 10%. And then you have, all these guys. Look, the markets are looking pretty good. Yeah, so altcoins. Even Dogecoin. Look, a Dogecoin is up. Oh, why am I on the weekly? Let me go to the lower time. So, yeah, I mean, look, that's what we have. What I'm actually doing right now, guys, I'm spending a lot of time on the 15 minutes, and I'm watching the one. I'm watching the ones that break above the 21 moving average. I mean the 200 moving average on the 15. But I want to see some sustainable price action. Because if you go back, if you like come back right here, like you would have got tricked by a bunch of these right here. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to see the ones that break out and sustainably, stays above the 200. These are the ones that tends to go on for some time, and some time. I don't mean like days and weeks, but you tend to get maybe like a 20-30% move. So if you look at this one right here, after the breakout, this is already a 12% move. So we might get a pullback, come back to retest, maybe around 12 cents, and then we go up again. This is a nice consolidation that ended up breaking out to the upside. So that, yeah, this is basically what I'm kind of doing right now. If you go to, that was AVAX. If you go to Ondo Finance, look, a nice, a nice breakout. Now, of course, you do have some structures. You have some structures right here. A nice breakout, breaks above the 200 moving average, and this is where you get, a nice move. So, look, there's ways to trade some of these moves. If you go to the daily, I think it was a lot of easy. Maybe not. I don't want to say easy, but you could have identified, you know, this bullish divergency right here. So you could have definitely identified this bullish diverge, bullish diverge, and the moment you had these retests right here, you could have done this. This is before these breakouts. You could have done this. Let's say right here, you could have gone to the 15 minutes. I'm looking for this range right here. All right, so I'm looking for these lows. This is a low right there. This is a low right here. All right, and I'm looking for a reaction. So the reaction is, okay, actually, let me go back. This is a daily low. All right, this is the low right here. So this one is very important. And then this is another daily low. This one is also very important. These lows right here are very important because these are your daily lows. Those are your higher time frames. And then you go to the 15 minutes, and then you are trying to see, okay, how are we going to react to those two lows? The first one is 36 cents. The second one is 35. So price consolidated, boo, 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 lost it. The low right here, okay, that's okay, consolidated, lost it, the other one, and then price comes back up, comes back down again, comes back up again. So right here, you could clearly see this is what we call an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Right here, guys, this is your left shoulder, this is your right shoulder, this is your neck right here. And then price starts going up. Now, you could have jumped in right here, or simply, okay, now we broke above the 200. It is go time. All right, so we can do the same thing, looking at something else that has not broken out yet. What has not broken out? Maybe, I think now Polkadot has already broken out. AVAX, we already talked about AVAX, already broken out. But we can go, look, if we go to AVAX, I already talked about this one. So in terms of AVAX, look, this is only just the beginning. You can go like this. Okay, this is AVAX right here. This is the low. There we go. Let me extend this. And then you also have this low right here. So we go to the 15 minutes. Basically, the AVAX is already good. So this is a waste of my time. So anyway, what we wanted to see was that we want to try to capture AVAX, but only if price is back above this $11.27, because this is the low of that higher time frame, that daily time frame. So only we touching anything that's above this 127. But AVAX clearly broke above the 200. Clearly has maintained a nice uptrend. As long as price does not. So if I'm looking at AVAX right now, as long as price is not below $12.21, the expectation should be that we will continue to go up on this lower time frame, this 15 minutes right here. Even on the 1 hour, yeah, as long as we above this, we should be able to continue up. Even on the 4 hour, as long as we above this, we'll continue up. So yeah, AVAX looks really good. I actually like it. Like, this is actually really good as well. We just broke above the 200 on the 4 hour, so we could potentially get another move like this. From here all the way up to $16. Like, this is a 20% move, guys. So yeah, AVAX looks really good. Stop loss, could probably put your stop loss right here, or just right below the moving average. However you want to do this, totally up to you. But these are all opportunities in this market. Is there something that has not? SUI, I already talked about SUI. You have plenty of opportunities. Look, this is a trade that I posted. My stop loss is below 131. I believe the last update I gave you guys, I said, hey guys, listen, Sui, yes, price is below, but it still looks really, really good. Let me see. I think I have it. So if I'm looking at Aerodrome, there we go, Sui. That was my update on Sui right there. Let me play it for you guys. Think so. I think if price goes anywhere around $2, you start taking your profits. If price is anywhere around $2, that would be my game plan if I was looking at Aerodrome Finance and I was looking to trade this one right here. Sui, nothing has changed. Yes, this is a big, this is a big, maybe not big. This is a big drop right now. It is currently down about, honestly, not even bad to be honest. It's currently down about almost 3%. I'm looking at Sui, and I think if price can stay above $1.31, there's a very good chance we get a 60% move. Now, do you wait for the entire 60% move? I don't think so. I think if price goes anywhere around $2, you start taking your profits. If price is anywhere around $2, I believe you start taking profits. Now, once again, maybe not in time. Yeah, so that was my update on Sui. Like we were $1.39, but looking at it, this was a good. It was just a good retest. So I'm looking at Sui, guys. I mean, Sui looks really, really good. Look, just broke above his 200 moving average on the 4 hour time frame. Like, which I mean, honestly, look, especially if you were wow. Speaking of structures, I want you guys to take a look at this right here. Like this is awesome right here, guys. Look, this is a low. This is a higher low. This is a higher low right here. So this was an amazing opportunity. And also, if you take a trend line, you go from this low, you connect it. Like it gives you a nice bounce. Not only that, yo, we just broken out. If you put a trend line right here, people, like we just broken out. In terms of where we're going, I am looking at this range right here. This is congratulations if you are in a position. This looks really, really good. So yeah, that would be Sui right there. And we talked about others. There's plenty other tokens, XRP. We talked about XRP. Look at this right here. I said, hey, XRP looks really good. This range right here, looking at XRP right now, look, boom, 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 price is up. And I'm expecting, maybe not expecting, I am looking at XRP in somewhere around here, right? 220, 230. Like this is not a bad trade. This is a 25% move. Moondang, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, most of these altcoins will do pretty good. Now, the mistake is going to be this. The mistake is going to be people are going to start speculating that this is the beginning of another bull market. But trust me, that is not the case. What you have right now is a market that is going to give us a nice day cap bounce. My opinion long term will only change if we reestablish some bullish structures on the daily. What that means, and that could not just the daily, guys. I mean the weekly actually. That could take some time, man. If I'm looking at a bunch of these old coins, if I'm looking at Aerodrome Finance and I go to the weekly, now this is a long-term outlook stuff. Do you know what we will have to do? Look, this was not long-term bullish. This, like it or not, was not long-term bullish. Long-term bullish, in my opinion, is price breaks above the previous highs and it continues higher. To me, that is long-term bullish. This is clearly just a retest of these highs right here. And it gave us a double top. This gave us a lower high. So long-term bullish will have to be where we go sideways and then we finally get, some breakout, and then we go up and we break above 160, we break above 230, and price continues. I don't think that is the case. I think we are in the middle of a long-term decline, and at some point, all right, this is going to form some bullish structures, and at some point we get a breakout, and then and then we go up. So if I'm looking at this, to me, I think we have this right here. There we go, just like this. And this right here, maybe this, and then down, and then again, and then at some point we build a base and then up. I think long term wise, if it doesn't look like this, you want to be careful. You should definitely be careful. So, Chad, look, I'm thinking about. Well, maybe I don't have to because I think this is more than enough. I didn't know I was gonna do an hour of this. Look, I can keep going. I can absolutely keep going for maybe a couple more minutes, but there's really not much to talk about. Yeah, XRP, I'm looking at Feel Good Green. XRP, I'm looking at the like low 220. This is basically my outlook on it right here. So XRP, if we go back to like the daily, yeah, I mean, look, this is a really good move. We talked about these bullish divergences right here. So XRP, yeah, I'm looking retesting this 228, 230, depending on when you got in. Let's say you accumulated here, maybe here. I don't know when you got in. I mean, I'm not you specifically, but in general, depending on when someone got in, like this is a nice 20% move. This is a really nice 20% move. And which is really good. If I'm looking at XLM, look, XLM right here, it hasn't even begun actually. XLM looks good. And I'm looking at this range. So if this is entry, yeah, look, this is a 30%, 40, potentially 50. XLM looks good. If I put a trend line right here. Tick, 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 tick. Hasn't even broken out. Here we go. If we go to the 4 hour, it is attempting to break out. You see how, yes, this was a big buy, man. This was yesterday, actually. Wow. Yeah, this looks good to me. Yeah, look, even though we've gone from here, 19. Look, I'm okay even this as an entry. My stop loss will be below 19 cents. Like, I don't know how this is going to play out. We might get this. We might get this. We don't have to, of course. We might get this. Or yeah, we might get that. Or we might get something where it's a little lower. But this is, yeah, I think this one is, that looks very interesting to me. We might get this. Yeah, maybe you get stopped out by a nasty wick. But this looks good. Stella looks good. What am I doing? Yep. So that'll be a nice move. Peanut up 7%. Yo, I'm sure on X, people are probably going crazy. The cryptocurrency market is back again. Check it out what's going on X. Crypto. Look at these guys right here. Altcoin season 2026 is coming. Guys, I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't do it, man. Cryptocurrency market has been sacó $80,000 auditions. Most bullish altcoin. I mean, some of these guys are just messing around with you. Yeah, you can see, sentiment is kind of shifting. CRV, I just saw a post of CRV. CRV right here. I actually talked about CRV, and we said CRV was bullish. Yeah, there we go, right here, guys. Look, talked about CRV. I told you, it might get some pullback, but then I'm looking at this 35 cents move. So we did get a breakout, and then we did get a pullback right there. So I think the pullback is now completed, and this is the beginning of like a nice really move. So anyways, appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the live stream, and we'll see you next